This is part 3 of Our Planet, the One Place We All Call Home, which is written by Matt Whyman, illustrations by Richard Jones. And this is the part about our coastal seas. In the ocean waters that fringe our lands, rich communities of marine life work together in a way that's vital to the health of our planet and humanity. The coastal seas also provide us with a plentiful supply of food to eat, but only if we work with this environment and not against it. In this picture we can see a green turtle as it glides over the reefs of Heron Island in the Great Barrier Reef. In this picture we can see some grey reef sharks. Special quality. Coastal seas are all about abundance, where members of living communities thrive in huge numbers. All about our coastal seas. The waters around our coasts make up less than 1/10 of the world's oceans, yet astonishingly, they are home to an estimated 90% of all marine creatures. Sunlight powers the ecosystem here due to the shallow water, which means that plants can grow. These provide food for lots of different species and a safe place for many to thrive, breed, and raise their young. The coastal seas are made up of many different ecosystems. These include estuaries, lagoons, rock pools, salt marshes, mangrove forests, and fields of underwater seagrasses. Then there are coral reefs, which are where 1/4 of all marine life can be found, from microscopic plants to large monk seals and manta rays. Each ecosystem contains a close working community of species dependent on one another to keep the food web going. There is a huge range of living things: crabs, limpets, seabirds, sponges, and hundreds of types of fish, including sharks. If one species struggles because of changes to the environment, then it can cause big problems. Predators may suffer from a shortage of prey, for example, while other populations can grow too large without hunters and then use up precious resources. Coastal seas are also critically important to our way of life. Around the world, billions of people rely on fishing for their main source of protein or for an income. While these waters can provide us with all the fish we need, if we take too much, this affects the whole ecosystem. Here's a picture of a coral reef. Stories from our coastal seas. Kelp forest guardians. It's springtime off the coast of California, USA. Beneath the surface of this protected marine area lies a magnificent underwater forest of giant kelp. The strands of this seaweed grow up to 50 meters tall. Like a rainforest, the dense canopy provides food and shelter for a lively community. A sea otter weaves through the kelp fronds, diving for sea urchins. His thick fur keeps him warm in the chilly water. An urchin looks like a rather prickly meal, but this otter knows that if he can break the shell, there's a feast inside. Sea otters are important to the health of the kelp forest because they eat so many sea urchins, which graze on kelp, munching through the tough stems. So, by keeping the urchin numbers down, otters help to protect the precious kelp forests. The sea otters have a helper in their fight against the spiny grazers, the sheep's head wrasse. This is a fish with powerful teeth that can make short work of the smaller urchins. In the protected area, the otters and wrasse keep the sea urchins under control. Outside the protected area, where otters and wrasse are less active, the urchins have spread across the sea floor. The kelp forests have often disappeared, along with the many species that depend on them. Here we can see a picture of the sheep's head wrasse. Coastal recovery. The creation of marine protected areas and coastal waters means wildlife thrives. It's helped otters control the urchin population in the Pacific kelp forests off California, and can even boost the economy in some parts of the world. After years of unregulated fishing around the Medes Islands off the coast of Spain, a square kilometer was made into a protected area. Marine life quickly recovered and now attracts a carefully controlled tourist industry. Squadrons of the sea. From the shores of the Pacific coast of South America, Guinea cormorants take wing and head out to the sea. The colonies are so vast it takes over an hour for all the cormorants to leave the shore. Inca terns join them, along with pelicans and Peruvian boobies, while sea lions take to the water in huge numbers. By air and sea, this great army of hunters is searching for the same thing: anchovies. These little fish support the greatest fishery on our planet. Incredibly, this area of the Pacific accounts for 1/10 of all the fish we harvest from our oceans every year. Sea lions are the first to find the schools. As they drive the anchovies to the surface, the pelicans and cormorants plunge in. The boobies strike from heights of 20 meters, hitting the water at 100 kilometers an hour. It's an epic spectacle, with the lives of 5 million seabirds depending on the great schools. But it used to support 5 times this number. 50 years ago, these colonies all but disappeared because we overfished the waters. Controls were introduced, and now fish stocks are recovering, along with the seabirds that depend on them. This demonstrates the astonishing riches our coastal seas can support if we do the right thing to safeguard their future. In this picture, we can see anchovies being attacked by sea lions from below and sea birds from above. Fancy fishing. Bottlenose dolphins hunt for fish in the waters of the Florida Everglades using echolation. They make clicking sounds and use the echoes to work out where their prey can be found. Once the dolphins target their prey, they have their own special way of catching it. A few of them herd the shoal into just the right place. Then one dolphin stirs up a ring of mud that surrounds it. In a panic, the fish leap out of the ring and into the jaws of the waiting dolphins. Night hunters. In the Pacific Ocean, off the coast of French Polynesia, grey reef sharks prefer to hunt at night. In darkness, their acute senses give them an advantage over their prey. By day, they like to hang in the current and allow small fish called wrasse to pick at their razor-sharp teeth to keep them nice and clean. Coral riches. The coral reefs that are commonly found in our warmer, shallow coastal waters can be richer in species than tropical rainforests. In Indonesia's Raja Ampat archipelago, a range of reef fish such as map puffers, glassfish, and groupers can be found amid the colorful coral structures, algae, and sponges. But climate change is killing coral reefs. When sea temperatures rise by just a degree or 2, corals turn white and die, which is devastating for the wildlife that depends on them. Jellyfish invasion. Jellyfish are taking over waters once dominated by fish. This can have far-reaching impacts on the food web and ecosystem as a whole. Jellyfish are fascinating creatures, so why does this matter? One problem is that they provide very little nourishment compared to energy-rich fish, either to other wildlife or to us. A turtle, seal, seabird, or large fish needs to eat far more jellyfish to get as much energy as it would from fish, which means it's much harder work for it to get enough food. Protecting our coastal seas. Climate change is having a big impact on marine life. Burning fossil fuels means water temperatures are rising and the sea is becoming more acidic. This can affect everything from coral reefs to fish stocks. Clean energy can help to save our seas. Cutting down or halting our use of fossil fuels would slow climate change and help protect every ecosystem in the waters around our shores. Make more marine protection zones. Wherever coastal seas are properly protected, which includes controls on what can be fished, marine life bounces back. Eat sustainable fish. Look for a trusted certification label when choosing fish. This will help to prevent overfishing and lead to lasting stocks in our coastal seas. And that is the end of part 2, Our Coastal Seas.